Now, I think that you clicked on this video because you want actual practical steps to creating your dream life. I think certainly when it comes to the narrative and discussion around manifestation, there's less of a practical focus when it comes to manifesting the dreams that you want, manifesting, the life that you want. It seems so like all up in the air, and I'm going to tell you today how you're going to do that on a practical level, because I feel like that's definitely something that I wasn't really sure about for a very long time. I'm going to do a little get ready with me while I'm at it as well. I haven't done one of these in like years, and I forget how much I love the process of doing makeup. I'm going to do my classic look. Yeah, just take you through my little journey. So let's get into talking about how you're going to manifest your dream life, how you're going to do that on a practical step-by-step level, and how you're going to see your dreams materialize quicker than you think. The first thing I want to talk about is vision boards. Now, this is like a very popular thing that people talk about within the manifestation space, visualize, or being able to visualize your dream life. But there's a specific way of doing a vision board that's actually going to help you get there. So I used to do my vision boards. I would put things like when I have like a apartment in New York, or when I have 6 figures in my bank account, or when I have like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And at the time I had something like 800 subscribers on YouTube. I was in debt and I was living in the UK. I was living rent-free with my partner. Like, there was no way I was anywhere close to where I wanted to be. And my vision board, instead of actually encouraging me to get to where I wanted to be, instead of actually making me feel inspired, it actually demotivated me. I just thought, it's so impossible, like I'm just never gonna get there. I feel like it's so far away, and actually put me off. And I think this is the thing with vision boards, it has to be realistic. For example, like you could do your vision board for perhaps like year 5, and that can have all those things on it. In 5 years time, I'm going to work towards having all those really incredible things on it, all those like top tier of what I want my life to look like. And from that 5 year, you can still be inspired by it, but you still feel like it's manageable because it's in 5 years time. And for the one where you're doing, for the next year, make it achievable. So for example, by the end of 2024, I think it's very achievable for me to have like 50k followers on TikTok, for me to have moved into my own apartment, and for me to have saved, I don't know, like £5,000 or something like that. And that is going to be so much more motivating than you putting, like Miami Vice, like beach house and dream car when you can't even like afford a normal car at the moment, and those kind of things. Just ensure that you're making it achievable, because you don't want to risk being demotivated. You don't want to risk, thinking, oh, that's just never going to happen anyway. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm not even going to try and bother. That's why I suggest doing it in small chunks, or doing your vision boards maybe like per year, but working towards that 5-year big vision board, because it's going to be so much more achievable then. And you're going to feel like, when you do reach that certain point, you're going to feel like, yes, it worked. My vision board worked. It reminded me of what I was working towards and what could happen for me. So as I just gave an example of mine, those things are very much in my reach this year. If I can get to that amount of followers, that's going to be very much in my reach. If I were to put like 1 million followers by the end of 2024, it could happen, and that's incredible. But you have to make your brain believe that it's doable. You have to because if your brain subconsciously doesn't believe that could ever happen, it's just not going to happen. Your brain has to genuinely be convinced that what you're working towards could happen. Like, my brain does believe that I can get 1 million followers eventually. My brain does believe that I'll have a apartment in New York. But in this year 2024, in 6 months, not even 6 months, in like 5 months time, it's very unlikely with the tools that I have right now, is what I mean. And this is not meant to like demotivate you. This is not meant for you to say like, oh, be realistic, because I don't have time for that. I'm not interested in encouraging you to be realistic. By all means, manifest or work towards the things that you really, really want. But it depends on time, and it also and I'll get onto this later, these things take time. It's not going to happen like that. It takes time, and it takes hard work. You have to put in the hours. You do have to think of it in a more manageable way. per year. It's not going to happen like overnight, and it's also not going to happen perhaps in the time frame that you hope that it will. It has to be very doable for you. I mean, like last year I would definitely make the mistake of like, oh yeah, I can get, you know, I'd be on like, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 followers on TikTok, and I would think to myself, oh yeah, I can get to like 100k by the end of the year. Like, that's all good and well, but it just felt so far away for me. It just felt, it almost like I was putting it on a pedestal as well. I didn't even have a fucking mirror. And that kind of made it in my head like quite unattainable. But what I did do is I said to myself, look, I can get to 10k in 6 months. Like, I can get to 10k from January, which is when I started to like put this on my vision board, by June. And I got to 10k literally on the last day of June, because it was manageable for me and I was able to actually see how my actions could cause that to happen. And the great thing about things like this is that often the work that we put in ends up like snowballing. So we're like working to try and get like to a smaller goal, for example 10k, and you don't have to be like, okay, so the next 6 months I'm only going to try and get to 20k. Like, I'm trying to get to 50k by the end of the year, because I know that things sort of snowball. I understand that things build up momentum and things can happen very quickly. Take into account that things can happen exponentially, but I still see in my head that 50k is very doable. 100k, probably not this year, and that's okay. Next year, maybe that'll be my time. Do your vision board in bite-sized chunks, and it will actually, you'll be surprised with how easy it is to get, or not easy, but how doable it is to get to, you know, even just like a third of the way or a fifth of the way to where you want to be. Just make sure your vision boards are, and I hate saying realistic, but just like doable. Like, you could do that with the tools that you have right now. Big goals are made up of little goals, and it's so important to focus on those little goals to prevent you from feeling demoralized, to prevent you from feeling like, okay, this is just not doable at all. Like, I just don't think this is gonna happen for me. So make sure that your vision boards have things that you realistically can think, yeah, like I can do that this year. Like, it's a little bit further. It's like it is going to take a lot of work, but it's very doable and it's very within my reach. Very much connected to this is being able to break down your goals into weekly, monthly, quarterly goals. So I have a journal that I use. The journal's The Productivity Method by Grace Beverly, and it personally helps me a lot. It splits all your goals down by like quarter, monthly, weekly, daily, and it just really makes you feel like everything's possible. It makes you feel like, okay, I can literally see how splitting my goals up into these manageable chunks is actually going to help me get to where I want to be. But this is where it becomes important, because I used to think, you know, like, oh, if I just manifest, like if I just kind of visualize it, if I just expect things to happen, it's going to happen. And people, I think, forget that hard work is a massive part of manifestation, because the thing is, when you work hard and when you work towards your goals, it becomes like reality for you. Your brain is seeing in your life the things that you're doing to work towards your goals. You're kind of like convincing it that the journey exists, that you are on this trajectory, and that the universe needs to help you get there. Like, you're working towards this, you're putting in the work, and you're asking, essentially, by even just doing the action to get there, you're asking the universe to help you along the way. And it's kind of like putting it into your reality. So it tricks your brain into believing, or not tricks, but it encourages your brain to believe, like, wait, hang on, this is going to happen for this person. Your brain's going to look for opportunities, for example. Your brain's going to look for things that are going to help you move forward in whatever, you know, goal that you want to pursue. Your brain is wired and kind of focused on those things that you want to achieve more and more, the more you take action on it. So splitting it into those kind of manageable chunks is going to convince your brain that it could be reality, like this could happen for you, rather than it be this sort of thing in the distance that you can't sort of tangibly touch. Like, if you think about it, okay, so in 1 year, 50k followers, that means that I have to gain let me do the math, 4,150 or something per month. Like, that actually seems so doable and so much more plausible than 50,000 followers. Like, that is such an overwhelming figure to comprehend when you're not used to, and you're starting out, when you're not used to actually gaining that amount of followers. And from there, you can focus so much more on the sort of smaller goal, because it's actually so within your reach at that point. 50,000 followers seems like such a massive, thing, and you're like, oh my god, that's so overwhelming. But your brain is convinced then at that point that it's possible, that you could do that. And so that 50k is so much more achievable than when it was just 50k. Once you split it up, it's like, oh, that is possible. Like, I could do that if I put in the work, if I do this and this, if I work out what I need to do to get to that point. It's so much more tangible. Like, you could touch it. Like, it's so close to you than a big figure like that. What's motivating is, like, for example, one month you might, instead of gaining 4,150 or whatever, you gain 5,000, and you're like, what? This is so possible. And it's like, all of this stuff is like encouraging your brain to be like, no, this is so possible. Like, this could really truly happen for me. And it validates your process. It validates you manifesting something when it's not this sort of far in the distance figure that seems so overwhelming right now. Splitting it into chunks will make those goals so accessible to you, those big goals so accessible to you. Something that I absolutely love that Mel Robbins, I remember saying in one of her podcasts, is when it comes to like manifestation, which I don't think I've heard anyone else say in the manifestation space, is to actually manifest the hard parts of getting to where you want to be. Those times when you're like, I really don't want to do this, I don't feel like it, this is going to be so hard and overwhelming. And actually being able to visualize those times in your journey to success of when it's going to be really hard is crucial. She gave an example of, like, say if you're a marathon runner, the work that's going to have to go into that is going to be tough. It's going to be hard work. So she suggested, and I think this is such a good idea, is to manifest the times when you are going to find it hard, or when you first start out, rather than manifesting the moment you finish the race, the moment you cross that finish line. Manifest the times when it's raining and you woke up late and you really don't feel like going for a run and doing it anyway. The moment when your AirPods runs out, when you're halfway through a run, you've got like 2 miles to go until you get home, and you're like, oh, manifest those times. And I think it's the same, and I think this is such a great point, because I think about this with my own journey, is I really need and want to start manifesting the times when I just really don't feel like it, when I'm feeling maybe like a bit demotivated, or I'm feeling like, I don't know, like I've received a few unkind comments on my TikToks or my YouTube, and just being able to manifest how I deal with that, being able to manifest like who I will need to become and the mental strength I will need to have in order to overcome that and still carry on anyway, like not letting it kind of defeat me. I can just think of like so many examples, but essentially manifest the times, or manifest parts of the journey that are going to be hard, and visualize those. Not manifest, I think I've been saying the wrong thing. Visualize those times. Visualize the times when you're going to be like, we don't have enough money for this, like we don't know if we're going to be able to do the launch, or what if the house doesn't go through, what if the purchase doesn't go through and we're not able to get our dream home. And anticipate and visualize the times when you're going to push yourself, because that's what is required in that success manifestation journey. There will be tough times. There is nobody on earth who is successful and created the dream life for themselves without having to go through a lot of shit to get there. So So visualize the times when you will find it tough, and anticipate what you're going to do in those tough times, how you're going to overcome those tough times, because they are inevitable. I think about being able to set boundaries. There are going to be times when somebody tries to shaft me, somebody tries to take the piss, somebody is disrespectful, rude, does something that derails something that I've been working towards, and I have to visualize, how am I going to overcome that instead of let it defeat me? How am I going to overcome that? And visualize those things. Visualize the blocks in your path. Visualize the tests in your path. Those moments when you're like, I really don't know if I can push past this, and anticipate those things, because when it comes, you'll be like, yeah, I know, but I was anticipating this. You won't be so overcome and like overwhelmed and think, oh God, I don't know what to do. You'll be like, yeah, but I knew this was going to happen. I knew that there would be blocks, and I knew there'd be challenges, and I'm ready for it. because I've already visualized this, so I'm prepared. And you're going to breeze through it so much more easily and actually, you know, probably manifest the life that you want that much quicker because you're anticipating the negative times, not just the positive times. You're not manifesting negativity, you're not manifesting bad things happening, but what you're doing is being able to understand and visualize the inevitable challenges that will happen. Nobody's journey is challenge free. Nobody's journey is barrier block free. So being able to visualize them, anticipate them, is going to equip you so much better than not doing so. Now, this is separate from manifesting the best case scenario. So separately, yeah, you will have challenges, you will have blocks. It's good to visualize those. But separately from that, is to try and put a positive spin. And this is why I think taking your ego out of it as much as you can is so helpful, because instead of seeing, you know, these challenges and these blocks that are inevitably going to happen and that you kind of have to anticipate, it's like, oh, why are you getting in my way? Why does this happen to me? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And what, you know, instead of letting your ego just take over, flip it. Think to yourself, and this is something that I try and practice quite a lot, is to think, what is this trying to teach me? What about this challenge and this barrier and this thing that's in my way is trying to make me better, is trying to teach me? Because yes, it's unpleasant. Yes, nobody likes to have to deal with challenges. Obviously, we're human. We don't like to do that. But by avoiding challenges, sticking your head in the sand, you're not going to get there. Challenges are there for you to grow. They're a blessing. And I know that's really hard to think at the time, because you're like, I don't know how this is helping me. I don't know how this is like helping me get to where I want to be. But it will probably become clear a lot later on. But in the meantime, while this challenge is happening and while you do feel very sort of like demotivated and you're like, oh, is this the sign that the universe is telling me to give up? No, it's a sign that the universe is saying, level the fuck up, because we've got something better for you. We want you to push through the challenge, problem solve, and become more robust, because we know that we've got something better in store for you. That's what a challenge is for. In the same breath as me saying, you know, see challenges as blessings, acknowledge that it's annoying, acknowledge that it's pissed you off, acknowledge that it's like, oh, for goodness sake, like I just wasn't anticipating this happened right at the worst time, and try and allow yourself to feel like that, because it's so valid, it's so annoying, I get it. But if you can try and come and see yourself from like a bird's eye point of view, you know, like you're a fly on the wall, and just think to yourself, look, this is a game. I want to get to level 4, 5, 6, not just stay at level 3. In order to get to level 4, this is the challenge that I have to overcome. This is like a video game where you just can't seem to get to level 4 because you can't get over this challenge in level 3, this task in level 3. And actually seeing it from that point of view, and seeing it from that view of like, this is just a game, this is a challenge, it's not going to feel so personal. It's not going to feel like, you know, you're not going to feel like such a victim. You're not going to feel like, you're not going to wallow. You're just going to be like, right, cool, not ideal, it's pissed me off, but I know it's a challenge. I know that this is literally just trying to get me to level 4. It's trying to get me to the next level. It's not here to pull me down. It's not here to hold me back. It's here to elevate me. And if you see it like that, your manifestations are going to come in so fucking quick. They're going to come in so fucking quick. They are. Because when you see it like that, you let your ego go and you kind of stop. That just doesn't get in the way anymore. Your ego doesn't get in the way anymore. You're thinking to yourself, yeah, like this is a positive thing for me. I can't wait to get over this challenge because I know it's going to equip me for something even better. When you see it like that, it just, you get out of your own way. Because I think many of us, including myself, just get so bogged down, like, why does this happen to me? What is it that I'm doing wrong? Why does this, like, am I not meant for success? It's just not a thing. Like, challenges are there. You could even reframe it as like, challenges are there because they know that I'm ready for the next step. This challenge is here because they think that I'm ready for level 4. Like, I've glowed up that much, or I've done enough to get to like level 4. It's like a compliment. It's like a compliment from the universe being like, you're doing so well that I think you need this little challenge just to prove to yourself that you are that good, that you are doing the right thing. Because once you get over it, you're like, whoa, I did that. and it feels that much more satisfying, no? Like fully back in the day, I used to like manifest myself out of things because I saw challenges as like a sign that things weren't working. So many of us have this mentality that challenges are sent to us to be like, stop fucking trying. Like, you're not meant for this. Blocks are put there to kind of prove to you that, you're not meant for this journey and that this isn't the right path for you. And can you see how, if you think about it, like challenges in this example is a very neutral thing, but actually the way you see it can either catapult you forward or it can hold you back and make sure that you kind of recess, or is that the right word? Retreat into being the somebody who doesn't think they can achieve what they want to achieve. Even get into this neutral space, not necessarily even just be optimistic, but try and just get to this neutral space. Seeing challenges as like a neutral thing. It happens to everybody. Everybody experiences challenges. Challenges are not personal. That's so much more helpful than thinking that it's personal, than thinking that it's a sign that you should stop. Being able to just even get into a neutral place with it is so much more helpful for your future and so much more likely to prevent these things getting in your way, because you're not internalizing it. You're not seeing it as like a negative sign. You're seeing it as like, it is what it is. And that can be liberating too. Say if you have a narrative in your brain that things aren't meant to work out for you, you're not cut out for it, you don't have high self-confidence or high self-esteem, your body and your brain is going to look for things that validate that. Your brain is so malleable. Like, you can, over time, change your perspective and convince your brain that it is worthy of success, and eventually it will look for things that prove that. Your brain only is looking for things. This is why manifestation works so well, because the power of believing in yourself is so important. It's like you've got these blinkers on, and it can work to your detriment as well. If you have these blinkers on that are like, everything is not meant for me, you're going to look for only those things. You're not even going to notice the other things going on that prove that it is meant for you. Whereas if you have this mentality of like, yeah, it is meant for me, you're going to be like ignoring all the signs that it's not meant for you and only be focusing on the signs that it is meant for you. It's so powerful either way. Make sure you're doing it in the positive way. You're doing it in the optimistic way. You're doing it in the way that you want it to go fundamentally, not, that's going to make you spiral. You want to be going up, not down. I've spoken about this in so many other videos, and definitely go and look at my other videos on like building self-worth, because it's so crucial. When you have high self-esteem, when you have self-worth, when you believe that good things are meant to happen to you, manifestation is so easy. Final thing that I really want to say about manifesting is that it takes ages. It takes time. I have this overwhelming sense of urgency, and I'm only 26, but like I have this overwhelming sense of urgency, like, oh, why didn't I achieve this at 21? Like, I see 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds now that have created this incredible success. I think to myself, it should happen that quick, and it's just not the case. Very rarely, unless maybe you have some support, you've got a really great support system, all your ducks are in a row. So for example, say if you want to be like a business person and like you have family members who have successful businesses, and then they also have the money, and then you also have the money. There's lots of things that kind of have to align for those people that kind of see success young. Because if you are somebody who maybe, say if you want to be like an actor or something, say if none of your family are actors and you live in the middle of the country, nowhere near a city where they do auditions and stuff, it is going to take you that much longer to manifest, to create the dream life that you want. Things happen quickly, generally speaking, for those people who maybe the stars align for them. But for most people, you kind of have to do the work for those stars to align. And manifestation does, generally speaking, take years and years and years. Even Mel Robbins is a good example. She didn't sort of see success in the way that it is for her now until she was in her like 40s and 50s. It took her a really long time because she had to overcome a lot of, I guess, intangible things such as, her mental health and understanding her own habits and those kind of things. It took her a really long time, or longer than maybe you see online, for these things to manifest for her success to manifest. Manifestation does take time. It's not going to happen overnight because you have to build up momentum. I can see this with my own TikTok account. I used to think, oh, it should happen overnight. Like, I'd see, so infuriating, I'm not gonna lie, like seeing TikTokers who would say, oh, I gained 50,000 followers or 100,000 followers on TikTok in a month. This is how you're gonna do it too. Completely out of context. That is completely out of context. That's not considering maybe they had a following before. That's not considering the fact that they maybe have a coach or they've built up multiple accounts before. It's not considering that maybe they just have like a really raw natural talent for this exact thing. Most people have to build up their success. They have to build up their skills. It's not going to happen overnight. Time has to pass for challenges to arise, for opportunities to arise, for you to build a network. Everything takes time to build. Unless you're given it, it's handed to you through privilege or luck or some other means. Most people, it takes time to build these things up. It takes time to build up, like I said, a following. It takes time to build up a network, because you have to meet lots of people, have lots of conversations in order to build that network from scratch. Same with money. It takes time to build up money. Unless you're given it, of course, you can be like, oh, I invested in 3 different properties and this is how I did it. Girl, if you don't have certain privileges, it is just going to take you a little bit longer. But if you carry on and if you keep going, your manifestations will come to fruition. It's kind of like how I said, reaching 10k might take you a lot of effort, but reaching 50k will probably take you less effort because you've built up that momentum. The cogs are still going, it's snowballing. It's exponential. It doesn't just happen in a linear way. Success happens in an exponential way. So just know that for a really long time, you will be building up and building up and building up and building up, and it will feel like nothing's happening. But then it eventually just go whoop, and all of that groundwork that you've been doing will catapult you. So don't think that it's always going to be linear. So anticipate it's going to take years to build, and then from that it's going to just happen exponentially. You're going to be like, whoa, where's this all come from? And you'll be able to say, look, actually, it's all the work that I did before. It's all the work that I did for those 2, 3, 4, 5 years of constant grind, and now it's paid off. Don't think that because you're not seeing anything or you're not seeing the fruits of your labor yet, that things aren't working. Everything always is rumbling under the surface. Everything is building, everything is like compounding. And also don't underestimate every tiny little thing that you do. Every single action that you take is significant. Every single time you send an email, every single time you pitch to somebody new, every single time that you post one video, every single time you save £100 is building. All of it is significant. And even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, that's what builds success. Not this one big final thing that you did. For example, if you're somebody that struggles with saying no, you struggle with boundaries, and then you start putting in boundaries and you start saying no, that's significant. Because you don't know that in the future, you're going to have really strong boundaries in order to close a deal, in order to maximize the profits of your company, in order to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. And it might not feel like they are for a really long time, but eventually, if you keep going to the point where you actually end up seeing the fruits of your labor, as long as you keep going, you will be able to actualize that. It will become clear why all those actions were significant, and it will become clear that every time you make an effort when you really don't feel like it, every time, for example, there's so many times when I'm like, oh, I can't bother to post like the final video today on TikTok, and I'm just like, no, just do it, Hattie, like it's going to take you 2 minutes, just do it, because it's building that momentum, it's building that stretch that's going to catapult me forward, and nothing is insignificant, no matter how insignificant it feels at the time. Anyway, that is it for today's video. That is a cute lip look. I feel like manifestation is mostly just rewiring your brain to see things for you, not against you. It's using a bunch of tools to visualize, to anticipate, to view things in a certain perspective that is for you and not something that you kind of are trying to talk yourself out of. It's here as a tool, and if you use it right it's going to benefit you so much. It's not this sort of like, oh, visualize it and then you'll get it. You do have to take practical steps, and that's something that I realized. Like, I thought when I sort of first started my manifestation journey that it was just that sort of rewiring of your brain. But part of the rewiring of your brain is taking the action, and taking the action convinces your brain and proves to your brain that what you're trying to work towards is possible, is tangible, is within reach. And that's what I tried to get across in this video. I hope it did. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That really, really helps me out. But with that, have a fantastic remainder of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.